Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're rediving headfirst into a story that will make you question everything you think you know about our world. Imagine this. You're just a regular person going about your day when you stumble upon something impossible. That's exactly what happened to Alara, a girl who thought her biggest problem was passing her history final. Little did she know, her world was about to get a whole lot bigger. Our story begins in the sleepy town of Havenwood, a place where nothing exciting ever happens, or so it seemed. Alara lived with her grandmother in an old, creaky house filled with antiques and forgotten memories. She spent most of her time with her nose in a book, dreaming of adventures in faraway lands. One rainy afternoon, while exploring the dusty attic she was forbidden to enter, she found something that wasn't on any map. Behind a stack of old trunks, hidden beneath a loose floorboard, was a small, ornate compass. It wasn't pointing north. In fact, its needle was spinning wildly, as if it was desperately trying to lead her somewhere. Intrigued, Alara followed the compass's frantic dance. It led her not out of the house, but deeper into it, to a forgotten corner of the basement behind a wall of crumbling bricks. The air grew colder, and a strange humming sound filled her ears. As she pushed aside a loose brick, she saw it. A shimmering, swirling vortex of light, pulsing with colors she'd never seen before. It was beautiful, terrifying, and utterly captivating. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to forget what she saw. But the part of her that craved adventure, the part that had lived in books for so long, whispered for her to step through. And so, with a deep breath and a heart pounding in her chest, Alara stepped into the unknown. She found herself not in the basement, but in a world bathed in the light of two suns. The sky was a shade of lavender, and the air smelled of strange, sweet flowers. Giant glowing trees towered over her, their branches woven together to form a canopy high above. Strange, bird-like creatures with iridescent feathers soared through the sky. This was Ethelgard, a world teetering on the brink of darkness. Ethelgard was once a vibrant realm, alive with a magic known as the Anima, but a shadowy entity called the Blight was slowly consuming it, draining the anima from the land and turning everything it touched to dust and decay. Their magic was fading, and their cities were falling. When Alara arrived, they saw her not as a lost girl, but as a sign. An ancient prophecy spoke of a star child, a visitor from another world who would wield a power thought to be lost forever, the power to create, not just manipulate, the anima. The compass she held wasn't just a compass. It was a key, a relic that could only be activated by someone with a connection to both worlds, one like Alara. At first, Alara was completely overwhelmed. She was just a normal girl from Havenwood. How could she possibly be this prophesied savior? She couldn't even do a simple magic trick, but a kind sylvan elder named Lyra took her under her wing. Lyra explained that the power wasn't something to be learned like a school subject. It was a part of her, was in her emotions, her creativity, her will. Alara started her training, not with spells and incantations, but with focus and control. She learned to feel the flow of the anima around her, to connect with the life force of Ethelgard. Her first breakthrough was small. While tending to a withered plant, she felt a surge of desperation and hope. A faint green light emanated from her hands, and a single new leaf unfurled on the dying stem. It was a tiny miracle, but it was proof. The power was real, and it was inside her. Small success ignited a fire within Alara. For the first time in her life, she felt like she had a real purpose. She wasn't just reading about adventures, she was living one. She trained relentlessly, pushing her limits, learning to channel her newfound abilities. She could make flowers bloom in barren soil, purify blighted water with a touch, and create shields of light to ward off the shadow creatures spawned by the Blight. But the Blight was a relentless enemy. It was more than just a physical corruption. It was a force of despair, feeding on fear and hopelessness. Its leader was a terrifying being known as the Shade Lord, a former Sylvan who had been consumed by a hunger for power, and now sought to extinguish all life. The Shade Lord learned of Elara's arrival, and saw her not as a savior, but as a threat to his dominion. He began sending his most powerful minions, the terrifying Gloomfang beasts, to hunt her down. This led to one of the most intense moments in Alara's journey. She and a small group of Sylvan warriors were ambushed in a petrified forest. The Gloomfangs were fast, strong, and their very presence seemed to drain the will to fight. One by one, the warriors fell back, their light magic proving ineffective against the sheer darkness. Alara was cornered, fear gripping her heart. The Shade Lord's voice echoed in her mind, telling her she was weak, that she would fail, that her world would be next. For a moment, she believed him. The light from her hands flickered and died. But then, she thought of her grandmother back in Havenwood. She thought of the hopeful faces of the Sylvans, of Lyra's unwavering belief in her. She thought of that tiny leaf she had brought back to life. She wasn't just fighting for Ethelgard. She was fighting for everyone and everything she loved. Her fear turned into defiance, her despair into determination. She roared, and it wasn't just a sound. It was a shockwave of pure anima. A brilliant, blinding light erupted from her, incinerating the Gloomfangs and pushing back the encroaching darkness. In that moment, she wasn't just a girl who found a portal. She was the Star Child, and she had finally accepted her power. This victory was a turning point. News of her power spread like wildfire, reigniting hope across Ethelgard. The Sylvans rallied, no longer cowering in fear, but preparing to take back their world. Alara, now more confident and powerful than ever, knew what she had to do. She couldn't just keep fighting off attacks. She had to go to the source. She had to confront the Shade Lord in his fortress at the heart of the Blight, the place where the corruption was strongest. The final confrontation was epic. Lara, accompanied by Ethelgard's finest warriors, stormed the Shade Lord's citadel of shadows. The battle that ensued was a clash of ultimate opposites. Creation versus decay, hope versus despair, light versus darkness. While the Sylvan warriors battled the Shade Lord's army, Alara faced the master of the Blight himself. The Shade Lord was powerful, twisting the very fabric of reality around them, showing her visions of her own world falling to his corruption. He tried to break her spirit, to turn her own power against her. But Alara was no longer the scared girl from the attic. She had been forged in the heart of a dying world and had emerged stronger. She didn't fight his darkness with just her light. She used her creativity, the very essence of her power. She didn't just create shields. She created illusions of thriving forests, visions of a restored Ethelgard. She showed him the beauty he had forgotten, the life he was trying to destroy. In a final, desperate act, the Shade Lord tried to absorb all the anima from Alara, to consume her power and her life. But he made a fatal mistake. He underestimated the human heart. As he pulled the anima from her, he also pulled her memories, her love for her home, her compassion for the Sylvans. These emotions were alien to him, a poison to his being of pure despair. The pure, untainted life force, combined with the power of human emotion, was too much for his corrupted form.
He shattered.
Not in an explosion of darkness, but in a flash of brilliant light, as the stolen anima was released and flowed back into the land of Ethelgard. As the light faded, color began to return to the world. The blighted lands healed, the petrified trees began to sprout new leaves, and the lavender sky shone brighter than ever. Ethelgard was saved. Exhausted but victorious, stood in the center of a world reborn. Her journey was over, but her life was just beginning. She had the choice to stay in the world she had saved, or return to the one she had left behind. Alara knew she couldn't abandon her home, her grandmother. But she also couldn't abandon Ethelgard. She had found a second home, a second family. With the help of the Sylvans, she learned to stabilize the portal, creating a permanent bridge between the two worlds. She became a guardian, an ambassador, a girl who lived between the mundane and the magical. She was no longer just Alara from Havenwood. She was Alara, the Star Child, a hero of two worlds. And her greatest adventure was just getting started. What an incredible story, right? It just goes to show that you never know what kind of power is hidden inside you, just waiting for the right moment to be discovered. What did you think of Ilara's journey? If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing tales. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.